The Witching Hour. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled in the heart of the forest, there lived a woman who was feared by all who knew her. She was known as the Witch of the Woods, and her reputation was one of dark magic and terror. The villagers whispered of strange happenings in the forest at night, of ghostly apparitions and eerie whispers on the wind. They told tales of strange creatures that roamed the woods after dark, and of the mysterious hour when the witch was said to be at her most powerful, the witching hour. Despite the rumors and legends, there was a young woman named Alice who was not afraid. She was brave and curious, and she was determined to discover the truth about the witch and the strange goings-on in the forest. And so, one night, Alice ventured into the forest, determined to see for herself what lay beyond. As she walked deeper into the woods, she could feel her heart pounding in her chest. The trees were thick and dark, and she could barely see the path in front of her. And then, suddenly, she heard a sound. It was a low, mournful howl, and it echoed through the forest, sending shivers down her spine. She quickened her pace, her heart pounding, and as she came to a clearing, she saw the witch's cottage in the distance. The cottage was old and weather-worn, and as she approached, Alice could see that the windows were boarded up and the door was locked tight. She hesitated for a moment, but her curiosity got the better of her, and she approached the cottage, determined to see what lay within. As she neared the door, she heard a voice whisper her name, and she felt a chill run down her spine. The voice was soft and ethereal, and it seemed to be calling to her from within the cottage. And then, just as suddenly as it had come, the voice was gone, leaving Alice to wonder if she had imagined it all. Undeterred, she approached the door and tried the handle. To her surprise, it turned easily, and the door creaked open with a sigh. And as she stepped inside, she felt as if she had entered a different world. The interior of the cottage was dark and musty, but as Alice's eyes adjusted to the dim light, she could see that the walls were covered in strange symbols and markings. And then, from somewhere deep within the cottage, she heard a voice. It was the witch, and she was chanting in a language that Alice could not understand. The words were strange and foreign, and as she listened, she felt a sense of unease settle over her. And then, as she watched in horror, the room was filled with a bright light, and the witch disappeared before her very eyes. In that moment, Alice knew that she had stumbled upon something truly terrifying. The witch was not just a simple old woman, but a powerful sorceress who had the power to control the forces of darkness. And as she turned to leave the cottage, she realized that she was no longer alone. The creatures of the forest were closing in on her, their eyes glowing red in the darkness. Alice knew that she was in danger, and she ran as fast as she could, determined to escape the clutches of the witch and the creatures that lurked in the forest. As she emerged from the forest, Alice was met by the villagers, who had come to find her. They took her in, and she told them of her frightening encounter with the witch and the strange happenings in the forest. From that day on, the villagers were more cautious when venturing into the woods, and they whispered of the witching hour with even greater fear. They warned others not to enter the forest after dark, lest they fall victim to the witch and her dark magic. But Alice was not content to simply let the mystery of the witch and the forest go unanswered. She was determined to find out more, to understand the strange powers that the witch wielded. And so, she began to study everything she could about magic and the supernatural. She pored over old books and consulted with wise elders, determined to uncover the truth about the witch and the forces she controlled. Years passed, and Alice became an expert on the dark arts. She was respected by the villagers, and her knowledge was sought after by those who wished to protect themselves from the dangers of the forest. And then, one night, the village was rocked by strange occurrences. People reported seeing ghostly apparitions in the streets, and strange noises echoed through the night. It was as if the forces of the forest were trying to reclaim the village. Alice knew that she had to act. She gathered her courage and ventured into the forest, determined to confront the witch and put an end to the terror that was plaguing the village. As she approached the cottage, she felt a sense of dread settle over her. The door creaked open, and she stepped inside, determined to face the witch and whatever lay beyond. What happened next remains a mystery. Some say that Alice was never seen again, that she was consumed by the darkness of the forest. Others whisper that she succeeded in defeating the witch, that she banished the forces of evil and returned the village to peace. But one thing is certain, the witching hour still haunts the village to this day, and those who venture into the forest after dark do so at their own peril. The curse of the witching hour still looms, a reminder of the power of the dark forces that lurk in the shadows.